Salvete omnes. This is chapter 33, exercise B. We are to translate the following English sentences into Latin. Boxes over here. Paying strict and careful attention to comparison of adjectives. That is the positive, comparative, and superlative degrees. And also using quam and the ablative of comparison to compare things. So number one. The girl is very brave. So we have our linking verb, our subject girl in the nominative case, and then we have our predicate nominative, the adjective brave. What degree is it? Well, positive would be brave. Comparative would be braver, or more brave, or rather brave, quite brave, too brave. The superlative would be bravest, or very brave, like we have here, or most brave. So this is the superlative. So we know puella I feminine, the nominative is puella, and the linking verb is est, singular est, third person singular, present of sum esse fui futurus. Now brave, we want fortis here, fortis forte, a third declension, three termination adjective. The stem is fort, the comparative is fortior, fortius for the neuter, with the genitive being fortiorus, but we want the superlative. So the stem is fort, and then add issimus, I-S-S-I-M-U-S, and then exchange the us for an a for the feminine and for a neuter. So fortissimus a Because girl is feminine, puella I feminine, we want the feminine we want the feminine fortissima. So puella est fortissima, or we could even say fortissima est puella. Optime. 2. This is the shortest of all rivers. Out of all the rivers, out of the whole grouping of rivers, this one right here, this slice of the pie, this is the shortest out of all those rivers. So here we have this one, the subject nominative of our linking verb est, the shortest one. So this is going to be our superlative of brevis breve. For this, we are going to want hic haec hoc is the shortest of all rivers. This is going to be partitive genitive. We want this to be partitive genitive because this is the one shortest out of the entire grouping of all rivers. Omnis omne, and then flumen fluminus neuter. So altogether, hoc est brevissimum. So we have brevis, breve, like fortis. It is a third declension, two termination adjective with the stem brev. The comparative is brevior, the neuter brevius, the genitive brevioris. And then the superlative is brevissimus, We want this one with rivers being neuter. We want this river, hoc, neuter, est brevissimum, neuter, out of all the rivers. Genitive, partitive genitive. We want both of these to be partitive genitive, out of all the rivers. So we want omnis omne, genitive plural omnium. It's a nice stem. And then the genitive plural of flumen fluminus neuter is fluminum. Omnium fluminum. Hoc est brevissimum omnium fluminum. 3. He was stronger than the soldier. He was stronger than the soldier. So he was, we don't have to express he, we could just put t, third person singular ending on the verb. If you really wanted to put he in there, you could put is, is. Is, this is the imperfect was, erat, third person singular, imperfect of sum esse furi futurus. He was stronger than the soldier. You could also use the perfect if he was like at one point once stronger than the soldier and you want to emphasize that snap of the fingers at that one time. You could say the perfect fuit. It's probably going to be erat though. So we could just say erat, first word in the sentence. Stronger. So for strong, we have potens potentis, strong, powerful. Actually, I think we want to use fortis here, right? Stronger and brave. Fortis. So he was stronger than the soldier. That's going to be fortis, forte. And we want the comparative, the stem being fort. So fortior would be the masculine feminine. Fortius would be the neuter, but we want to keep that masculine fortior. Erat fortior. Then the soldier. We are comparing thing X, he, in the nominative case, with thing Y. If we use quam, then thing Y must have the same case as thing X. Nominative, thing Y will be nominative. So we want the nominative of miles militis, masculine soldier. Erat fortior quam miles. But because thing X is in the nominative case, we can omit quam and use the ablative of comparison, put thing Y in the ablative. So erat fortior milite being the ablative of miles militis. If you don't like fortior for stronger, I guess you could use more powerful, abler, potentior, the comparative of potens potentis. We're going to use that word in the next one. I saw the very powerful consul. So the subject is I, because I did the verb saw. So video, videre, vidi, visus. First person singular, I. Perfect tense, saw. We don't say seed. I saw, indicative, active voice, the very powerful consul. Very powerful, this is the superlative. We want the superlative of potens, potentis, stem potent. The comparative would be potentior, the neuter potentius, the genitive potentioris. The superlative, though, the very or most powerful, will be the stem potent, and then add issimus aum, potentissimus aum. Now, with what noun is it modifying or agreeing? So I saw, I is the subject, saw is the verb, the very powerful consul. So I saw the consul. The consul is the direct object in the accusative case. That makes this accusative singular masculine to agree with the accusative singular masculine. Consul, consulis, masculine, consulem. Accusative consulem, and then potentissimum. So altogether, potentissimum consulem vidi. Consulem potentissimum vidi. Optime, 5. He gave it to the bolder general. Subject he. We don't need to express is, but if you want to put is, that's fine. Gave. This is the perfect tense, past tense of do, dare, dedi, datus, to give. So we don't say gived, we say gave. So perfect tense, dead it. Perfect stem dead plus it, dead it. He gave. It. That's going to be is id. Let's go ahead and use is id. It is neuter, and we want the direct object because it's the receiving the action of the verb gave. He gave it to the bolder general. So he gave the direct object to the indirect object. This is going to be accusative and singular and neuter. So id did it to the bolder general. Now bolder, this is going to agree with general. So bold is audax, audacis, the adjective agreeing with imperator, imperatoris masculine. We want the dative, imperatori, because he's indirectly receiving the direct object, it. And then bolder, we want that to be dative as well, and singular masculine, but comparative degree. The positive is bold, the comparative is bolder, and the superlative is boldest. So audax, audacis, the stem audac, add eor, audacior for the masculine feminine. Now it needs to be dative. So the stem for all comparatives, you take the genitive like audacioris, chop off the is, audacior is the stem. They're all third declension. All comparatives are third declension, regardless of what their declension is in the positive degree. All comparatives are third declension. because it's like audacior, audaciores, potentior, potentiores, fortior, fortiores, brevior, breviores. That's the third declension. So we want audaciori, because we want blank is e, letter I, e, m, a, ace, ibus, ace, ibus, third declension. So audaciori imperatori. Id imperatori audaciori dedit would be a good answer for 5. 6. They were with the very famous poet. Probably having a great time. So they were. This is like an existential sum. Third person plural. Imperfect. Active indicative. So erant. They were. Or there were, but they were. I guess you could put an E or an AI if you wanted a subject. They were with the very famous poet. With. Along with. Cum plus the ablative of accompaniment. Very famous being an adjective modifying poet. Poet needs to be an ablative with cum, ablative of accompaniment. Poeta, I, masculine. We want the ablative poeta, poeta. Make run over the final A, poeta. And then very famous. So very famous, you could say clarus you could use notus I happen to like praeclarus myself. Either way, you're going to take the stem of the positive. So of clarus it would be clar. Of praeclarus, it would be praeclar. And of notus, it'll be note, N-O-T. And then add this is very famous, superlative suffix, which is issimus So notissimus clarissimus praeclarissimus So erant, cum, poeta, make run over the final A, praeclarissimo, clarissimo, notissimo. Remember that poeta, I, masculine. It's a masculine noun, though it looks feminine. It's a boy dressed up in girl clothes. 7. It is on the highest hill. It is on the highest hill. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's on the highest hill. I guess you could say id est. The thing is, id est, it is, id est. On the highest hill, in plus the ablative of location. The adjective is highest, superlative degree, modifying hill. For hill, we want mons, montis, masculine. Ablative would be in monte. And don't forget the adjective highest. Highest, altus would be tall or high. Altior, altius would be the taller or higher. And then altissimus superlative highest. So we want altissimo. In monte altissimo, id est. Id est in monte altissimo. Whatever it is. 8. His house is rather ample. His house is rather ample. So what is rather ample? The house. So the house is the subject. Then we have the linking verb, and ample being an adjective. It's a predicate nominative modifying the house. His house. So we want the house of him. The house of him is rather ample. So his. This is genitive of possession. So you want the genitive of issa, id, and that's eios. Eios. It's one of them heteroclades. So eios, domus. Domus us feminine. Est, linking verb, and then we have amplus for ample. Domus is feminine, so ampla. However, we want in the comparative, so amplior. Eos domus est amplior. Amplior est eos domus. 9. I see a very happy woman. So I, because I is the subject of the verb see. Who sees? I do. What do I see? I see a very happy woman. Adjective, very happy. Superlative degree, modifying the noun woman. Woman is the direct object of the verb see. So direct objects are in the accusative case. We want the accusative of femina, I, feminine. Now we really don't even need to express the noun woman, the noun feminon. We can just give the adjective feminine singular ending, and that can stand in for a woman. We call this adjective a substantive. So I see a accusative singular feminine, very happy woman. Happy is going to be leitos aon, and it's going to be superlative leitissimus aon, make it feminine, leitissima. It needs to be accusative, so leitissimam. Leitissimam video. Leitissimam video. Now, if you wanted to put happy, you wanted to use Felix, Felicus, you can't tell the gender with that adjective. So you would have to express the noun woman in order to get by the idea of the gender. So feminam felicissimam. Oh, I'm sorry, forget I just said that. Felicissimam. If you wanted to say felicissimam, that would be the same thing. You still wouldn't need to express woman. Felicissimam video. Leitissimam video. And 10, the laws are too unfair. The laws are too unfair. So we have the subject, the laws, with the linking verb are, and then we have too unfair. Now, too unfair is going to be our predicate nominative, subject, linking verb, predicate nominative. Too unfair is the comparative degree. It's not unfair, that's positive, but it's not very unfair or most unfair. That's superlative, that's too much, that's super. We want the comparative, which is just too unfair, quite unfair, rather unfair. It's unfair, it's more unfair. So the laws, lex, legis, feminine, nominative, plural, feminine, subject, leges, de sunt, third plural present, active, indicative, leges sunt, and then too unfair. So for unfair, we could say iniquus. In plus aequus, iniquus. We want the comparative. Iniquior, iniquius. We want the plural feminine because leges are plural feminine, lex, legis, feminine. So leges sunt iniquiores. Iniquiores sunt leges. Optime. Very well done. That wraps it up for exercise B. You are now ready to move on to exercise C.